different episode. I just a check-in, just a quick temperature check. What's good? Everybody feeling?
A global pandemic. It's a state of emergency. My people don't panic. It's a state of emergency.
Voice of the one called Luciano. Listen to that voice back in the day.
It's a state of emergency. My people don't panic.
Hey, listen, different kind of episode. Welcome to the Corey Shepherd podcast. This is episode 50. This is supposed to be a little celebratory thing, but boy, different kind of week. This is a long week. Hope everybody out there good. I hope everybody's staying safe, and it's just one of them times, boy. I'm listening to everything that happened, and I'm making notes of what we come in here to talk about today. And if nothing else, it's been a real long week. Because when I look at some of the things I had to talk about today, I can't believe that happened over the course of this week. It's just one of them times. So welcome back to everybody who's listening. And let me just say this too. Thank you to everybody who tunes in and listens. And whether you call me and give me feedback and all the things I say wrong in the last episode or not, I appreciate all that. I just need everybody to know how much this little podcast getting me through, like again, to maintain my sanity during these times. So I appreciate all the listening. Taking Luciano again.
It's a state of emergency. This global pandemic. State of emergency. My people don't panic. No. State of emergency. A global pandemic. In the state of emergency. My people don't panic. No.
All right, Luciano, thank you. Listen, I couldn't find a more appropriate song in these times. If I thought the lockdowns wasn't hard already, now we fully locked down. If you ain't noticed by now, where you been? It's no other way to, we talk about lockdowns before. All we had before was no lockdown, it's clear. The calls had come very early last year, 2020, maybe as early as March, when schools were just closed and they were just talking about locking off the borders and that kind of thing. I remember the talk going around about state of emergency. You remember that? And people will say, I remember a strange thing happened in my little community here back then. I was taking my little run in the area, my afternoon exercise, and I'm man run slow, I can't run too fast. So when you say I running and people talking, I hear most of your conversation because it's taking me long to pass you. And one of the strangest things, humans is a hell of a thing, I see a bunch of my neighbors or people in the neighborhood who stand up with an exaggerated social distance, right? At that time, we now know, I never heard the term social distancing before COVID in my life. I don't know about you. But we now know what is social distancing and what we need to do. And I see some of my neighbors stand up like literally across the street. Like a group of them, but they're well spaced out. So while I'm running in between there now, slow, I hear any conversation, and you know what I'm saying? They say what they need to do is call a state of emergency and implement a curfew. And I was thinking, why you don't stay home? Why you need the government? If you ever know who is a society who dependent on the government, this is real exposing how much we dependent on, and as much as we bad talk the government and think we love and believe in the government. Because if you find it should have a state of emergency, stay home. You don't need a state of emergency to stay home. But now here now is a ghost town. I don't know which part of you live in and how it is by you. But let me know. But by me is a ghost town. Now when you peeping out by my gate every now and again, nobody ain't taking no chances now. And this time is not, I believe, at least wrong here by me, based on my own observation. It have less to do with the fact that police and army on the road and them kind of thing, because, like I tell you, where I am here, you ain't seeing police and thing too often unless we playing football and somebody call police for you. But I think that people staying home now because the reality started so keen. Unfortunately, we live in through a lot of what we had seen in other countries last year. We saw it in what the people name again, boy? Where does thing start? Wuhan? I only think in Guangdong. I think it's from some movie in Wuhan. When we saw it the first time, I remember that like late December, early January 2020. or it could be late 2019, when you were seeing a hospital getting built pell-mell. A video was going around about how fast they're building this hospital again, that was another first for me when I hear about parallel healthcare systems. So much new things, And when we see that at that time, nobody thought we'd be dealing with this. I don't know, not me, for sure. One man had to say who know about this. It have a fellow called Iniko Premier Duncan. Salute my guy from Premier Studios. He's the one who helped me a lot with the audio for this podcast too. He is one of the first people I see talking about COVID, and he's surely the first person I ever see buy a mask and was wearing a mask early out, and he seemed to be on top of it. So I kind of watching to him now. Anytime I had doubt, let me see what this man predicting just in case. But I think the reason people staying home now is because of the fear of what we saw in Wuhan back then, and in Italy sometime after, and in New York sometime after that, where the healthcare system overwhelmed, decisions being made about who could live and who ain't gonna live. And boy, listen, rough. It's rough on all of us. And I've been saying since this thing started in terms of how we manage. Not necessarily how the government manages it, because them will do what they do. In terms of us as individuals, the choices we make, how we manage this and how we live through it, is telling, and it's important for us locally here, because we different to New York and Italy and Wuhan and these places. You know why? Because we're small. And when the place so small, every single, people talking about the numbers reaching home. Now, the numbers was always reaching home. Salute my guy Quiet, rest in peace. Old St. James, but I think I talked about him on this podcast already too. Young fella passed away, young baby. Last time I see Quiet and your wife had a young baby. And same Vanilla Bean Cafe I like to talk about so much. It's the last place I see him. And that was it. Quiet get COVID last year or get sick, and that was it. It's so fast, you know what I mean? And it's just the reality of living in a small country. Like when it comes to the rest of the world, we live in the bush. We live in the country bookie. Let me put it that way. So in this place, everybody know everybody. So from the time you hear a name call and you hear this one and you see the news start circulating, somebody could say, boy, I'm a neighbor. This one is my aunt. This one. So boy, we have a rough time. We're going through a rough time. Everybody feeling it. I learned a new word this week before I jump in the topics. I never heard the word empath before. Maybe I will name this episode New Learning, because I don't know nothing about these things. But somebody tell me empath is somebody who is feel the things that everybody else going through. My own lame definition to it, right? And I realized that's a part of my issue. I think as an empath, every time you hear a new term, you feel use one of them, you know what I mean? But I feel as one of them for sure. And the reason I'm saying that is because you see, when the place vibrating so low and so much happening, I don't know about all but it's heavy down my whole spirit. And that's why I say thanks at the beginning of this episode for anybody who ever listened to one episode or piece or ever take it, give feedback. I'm very, very grateful, because this, I guess, to get into talk and let out some of the way I feel about things and just basically talk about whatever, real helpful for me. So thank you very much. But I could feel them things is way very heavy on me when it happened. Like, you remember when they did the boy Ralph, what's his name, Ralph Maraj or Ramesh Lawrence Maraj? Which one was the Attorney General? One was Awata and one was Attorney General. No, both of them was politicians. Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, the general, Attorney General. And they had done the hanging of Dolce and Joey Maya and a whole squad. If I remember right, they start the Friday and they finish the Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 men get hung each day. And it was a different time in Trinidad to where it wasn't so normal to see things like bodies on the papers and casket. We were still a little bit reserved in the way we carry news. Now we ain't care. You put anything at Denny's and so on showing up, you know what I mean? Anything goes. But I remember back then feeling physically sick. I don't know what the word empath means, but I know what is that. I know hear about that recently. But it explained a lot for me, because I couldn't take the idea of the execution every 3 days. I still don't like the idea of execution and what's it called, corporal or capital point, whichever one it is. I don't like it. That's for our next episode, but I don't like it at all. Man, I feel no man should be able to just decide our next man to go now. But we can talk about that next time. But I remember feeling that, and I remember the Friday how I felt, and then having to deal with that Saturday morning again, and looking to knowing that coming Sunday. And I mean, no knock, these fellas might have done a lot and put families in those types of positions before, of course, but that's still real hard for me to go through. So this is another one of them difficult times. I don't know how they're feeling out there, and thing is a little temperature check. But I ain't feeling good. This is every day. And whereas we are accustomed, you remember how frightened we were last year when we hear about 50 cases for the first time? I wonder if people could place their mind back to where we were then. When you hear 30 cases and 50 cases, it sounds so scary now. Everybody want to stay home. But boy, now every day is 200 and something, as much as 600 and something cases. That was my stomach. As much as 600 and something cases on a daily basis. And you hear now 9 deaths, sometimes double figures to 25. It's like a lot. And all of us, because we're small and everybody know everybody, now all of us have a story about somebody who we know and somebody in the community and this and that. And it's rough times. So I think the as much as I guys come here and complain about the lockdowns, the this, the that, but we had to safeguard each other and safeguard ourselves, because when the healthcare system overwhelmed, it's a different ball game. Like, doctors had to make a decision now. From everything I hear, doctors making a decision when you show up with COVID at a hospital or one of the facilities as to whether you get a ventilator or not, or whether you go in ICU or not. And boy, that's rough. Because now they're trying to, from what I hear, again, I can't substantiate any of this is hearsay at its best. But the claim is that when you go in and they're trying to prioritize the people who have the best chance to survive. You pick sense out of nonsense where they're concerned. You know what I mean? I don't want to say too much about that, but if something like that is happening, is a scary thought. And I have to assume that if we have 50 ventilators and 200 patients, that is decisions that we had to make. I wouldn't like to be a doctor in this time. And listen, condolences and rest in peace to all the healthcare workers who have passed away over the last few weeks. That is rough too, knowing that you stay there and you battle out that fight. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago with the nurse who had passed, and now you're seeing a couple of doctors passing away, and boy, that ain't easy. And I also saw an article I found was interesting this week when you're talking about the professions, because policemen and women who have been out there trying to police us, trying to save us from ourselves. I could put it like that. Imagine that they going through their own issues and fears where COVID concern is invisible. I like how my partner name from County Council again, the Caribbean, the Catholic Archbishop, Jason Gordon. His name is always sound like he working in the County Council, you know what I mean? But I like how he put it in his statement he made the other day, where he was saying, it's a war we fighting, as an invisible enemy. He had made a statement that was a really good way of putting it overall. But the police out there trying to help us fight this war, save us from ourselves many times, like me from myself. And a headline came up this week where 2,473 police officers were in COVID quarantine. That's over the last year. Now that is an enormous amount of people to be out of service, especially at a time like this. And they're saying, reading from Trinidad Express, this is Carolyn Kisoon. The TTPS has reported that 726 employees, including 705 officers, are now in quarantine, with 2 officers having passed away from COVID-19. Rest in peace to those 2 officers, and condolences to their family, of course. But it's a rough thing. The people who are on the front line, who fighting to either, whether it's prevention or cure, or even stability. Like, I just send a huge salute to a bunch of our team members in my company as well, who are in the supermarkets every day, making sure we have food on the shelf, making sure that we have products, making sure that when we go to the grocery, you have things to get. Boy, salute to them for showing up and turning out to work every day. We getting calls all the time about people who scared, did this. We had a good bit of people in quarantine ourselves. Thank God nothing major came out of any of them yet. I hope I don't have to use the word yet at all, to be honest. But salute to them, salute to everybody who on the front lines, everybody who working in the pharmacies, the restaurants. We forgetting them sometimes, but they are equally important in this battle that we fighting. And without them, we're gonna have a rough time, and we're not gonna be able to survive this. So salute to all them guys. But when I read this about the police, it's like, why the police had to go through this? You're done sacrificing yourself. You're going out there every day. I want people to picture what it's like when you go out there to break up a lime or stop a zest or thing a wedding or whatsoever the thing might be. When they go there and they have to do their work. How that policewoman feeling when she had to go home to her children now? Or her mother home and have all the comorbidities in the world? How's she feeling when she go? I wonder if they must take all them police uniform from in the car and take a bathe in the yard or do, you know, it's easy, and every single day them going out there and dealing with these things. So in the midst of this, and when I do find, to be honest, that as a society, based on my layman observation, we was making adjustments ourselves over the last week or so, where people not really coming out as much, people ain't going out as much. The traffic on the road definitely died down. With the malls and all those things being shut down, there's less reason to be on the road, so more and more people were home. We didn't have that big rush in the grocery that we had last year when they say lockdowns come in and everybody went and stay in the grocery. We didn't have as much of that, right? I know they had pockets of it, but not much of it. But even with all those things, and then on top of that, a state of emergency being called on Saturday when the doc came out and say, listen, we had to make drastic moves. This group of people who go on the promenade, sorry, but this is Harris Promenade in South, right? You going to church. You making a church and the promenade. I'm not sure what's the idea behind this thing. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. Church people, I had to do a whole episode on religion because religion is a hell of a thing. But church people, what's going on? The people make a whole state of emergency. What are you trying to do there? Prove a point? I was trying to find out before if it's something they do every week or every Sunday, go on the promenade and pray and you know what I mean? Catch little spirits and so on. Babaha, babaha, babaha. I don't know if they do that all the time or if this is a one-off. And what I'm trying to figure out is like, why would you do that this Sunday? Why are you putting the police through that? Now look at how much police had to come there to talk to all you, to tell all you go home. And your response is we are praying for and you're trying to save we and saying one girl look like she'll hit you in your heart. I don't know. They say the spirit, right? The spirit. Why are you doing that? This is so confusing to me, especially when you read headlines like these where the police dealing with their own issues as individual and as a body of police. I had to come in between all you know. And not just come in between all you know. When they reach to disperse, all they getting on bad. The police had to come up and talk. And a police trying to reason with one of them, and this man is shouting. And I think in just last week they said this thing airborne. You want to shout now on your mask moving all about, and why a man must have to go through that? Why we can't just think, well, they couldn't pray home, or they couldn't, you know what I mean? Work your spirit, something is a spirit. You could just send the spirit by somebody, or any best business to close down. The church is the best business. What church is a business? The church is the best institution to close down over COVID ever. Because you could just spirit out everybody. You know about spirits and things. You could send a spirit. So, you know what I mean? Why we need to congregate like that? To put ourselves and everybody else at risk. And I hear Dr. Rowley when he say it, the man say, deathbed confessions about lime and party and who went to church and who, I mean, that's a worrying thing, not just because you're realizing a person could have, I don't want to say save themselves necessarily, but when you make a statement like that now, and if you give information like that, my first thought is, well, you went to church with who? Because now all the other who that you went to church with and you went on lime and you went, all them people now could be at risk and probably at risk. So, I mean, it's what it is. We in this state is a state of emergency. I want to make sure that all of us know what exactly we're supposed to be doing in these states of emergency times and all this nice thing. You know, me and the reading, I ain't so great. But they put out a release late on Sunday, I must say, You know, Lloyd Best used to say a thing like government by VAPs. Now is not the time. Now is not the time to knock the government and thing, but this is real government by VAPs, to be honest. I feeling now like if when people do the last press conference and they take a temperature, what happened, I feel like they check in Twitter and the internet and whatever, and then they see the COVID numbers that new. So when you see the new COVID numbers and it say 6 something and it look real high, somebody calling an emergency meeting 5 minutes before the press conference is to start. And then they come in with new measures. It's really looking like if it's government by VAPs. It's looking like we're making up this as we go along. And we, they had said, they responding to the science. So to my guy Reynolds who called me about that today. Reynolds say the government keeps saying and the boss saying he responding to the science. But you notice something? If you're watching the press conferences every day, what Dr. Parasaram saying, particularly Dr. Haynes, the PowerPoint champion, what he's saying not changing much, Dread. He's saying the same thing and basically breaking down, hey, this is where it is, this is where it's headed. Once you have clusters like this, you have community spread. That man giving the most direct breakdown every day. So it's like, I wonder who is surprised when the numbers are as high as 3 something, 4 something, 5 something every day. It don't seem to be Dr. Haynes. It ain't Dr. Parashram or Dr. Richards. Or they don't seem to be very, very surprised as to the way it is happening. They making the appeals that the government making too. But they've been saying it for a long time. So anyway, the numbers high, quick meeting, new restrictions. And if we never had proof of that before, that's always my theory, but if we never had proof of that before, I feel the proof was where an announcement was made about a state of emergency with new health regulations to come. So to tell us exactly what we're supposed to be doing after the curfew. So the curfew, everybody had to stay inside, but between the hours where we can come out, what are we allowed to do? Them men take about, from the press conference, that will be 2 o'clock Saturday, them men release the new, the emergency powers regulations, is what they're calling it. They must be released that about 7, 8 o'clock Sunday night. Which means you're talking about things and you're saying it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready, but all right, it's ready now. So going into the first night of the curfew, nobody know what they could do and what they can't do. So we can't gather in public places unless it's for the purpose purpose of the services that are specified in sub-regulation 10. I will get that way in a minute. We can't exceed 5 persons at that time. We can't be at any workplace unless the services are specified in the same sub-regulation 10 and shall where possible work from home. Now, I'm not sure again if people getting the idea of working from home, right? Because it's been a year since we into this thing. And I'm surprised at how many people I talk to who still had to go to work for what's sounding like things that could be done from home. And it's like, I'm not sure if a lot of companies have put the necessary infrastructure in place, whether it be technology, control systems, making people comfortable in their homes or what, so that people could actually work from home. It can't be that we go in and say work from home if you have to, and then the commissioner coming out today and say he get 200 and something thousand applications to break the curfew or for reasons why they need to be out during curfew. Or the man bright, he said there's more than a quarter of the labor force send the man an application already. And it make him wonder like how many jobs we have to do where we had to be in person. Anyway, no beach, no spring, no river, no sea, no pond, no pool, no kind of water at all. Not a standpipe shall be bathed in. No mud volcano. And none of it for recreation. No mud pool neither. I don't know what's that mud pool. But you can't go in it. Don't operate a party boat or boat for tour or club. So that is it. The Treasure Queen and all. Well, them fellas park up a long time. So we continuing with none of that. I wonder that's probably mean you can't go down the islands either because there's beach, pool, or there's everything in one. No public parties or public fetes. That's supposed to be going on all the time. Don't get the police no more work now. Don't do that. No public or private preschool, early childhood education center or nothing. That close. Don't operate no daycare or no preschool. Don't operate no water park or no amusement park. No bar, no restaurant. Don't sell or offer food or drink as a street vendor. Nothing. Don't sell anything. Don't consume alcohol in public places. Now, let me stop there for a while, right? I'm being honest. I feel this country, a part of these restrictions, right, is you have to know the culture of the country you're dealing with. So when bars was closed the first time, this is something that they should have put in place then too. Where men like, I don't want to call no names on the avenue that rhyme with spankies. That people used to go outside there and stand up and drink with a mask on their chin and get the police trouble. Now the police arrest people, then they say it's no regulation to things. So people acting like if it's not for their own good. So if police come to arrest you, it's a problem. And the idea is to find out how you could not get arrested so you could go back Frankie's. But look how life is. Oh God, that's why I say Spankies, right? Look how life is now. Nobody don't want to go to Spankies again. If Spankies open now and they say they're offering sale, nobody not coming. Even if they say no curfew, because now people frightened, man, governing themselves all of a sudden. But I do feel like if we should have stopped the public consumption of alcohol based on our culture and who we are and how we behave and things. Remember I was telling about Tobago when I was there during the COVID time too? No group contact sports. No outdoor sports or exercise in public places. So we can't go, don't know running around the savannah. Although I hear in Monday morning they're saying people was around the savannah and things like normal. I don't know if they didn't find out or they didn't hear or they didn't understand or whatever it is, but people was by the savannah from what I hear. Wrong by me here, I ain't leave home, so I could tell you about this wrong here and nobody was now this morning. That my man, he's run every day and I see he inside too. So, and this is one of the things I see people talking about online, and is exactly why it's an issue, especially in a state of emergency where if people don't understand, like the idea behind a state of emergency, or one of the things that happens with a state of emergency is when it comes to the army have different powers under a state of emergency. Let me put it like that. So you tend to find that the army and the soldiers on the road who typically don't have the power of arrest, but under a state of emergency they do. And they patrol and they arrest and they are basically enforcing the laws of the state at the time. So it's a time where rights or individual rights are limited and constricted during a state of emergency. I hope I do the best I could to make that make some sense. So it's important that if you call a SOE with immediate effect, you should tell people all the things that go along with that SOE one time. Because if after you call the SOE, was to be doing something in breach, and an army man pull me up, what are you going to say? I didn't know. And you didn't publish it nowhere yet. So, I mean, the government had lost some points on that one. But, I mean, now people know we can't exercise in public or anything like that. So, again, more restrictions. And then no sports club, no cycling, running, hiking, swimming, golf, tennis, football, rugby, hockey, or nothing. Except where authorized by the minister. I don't know what they put in the last part for, because what the minister authorized anything for there, I do not know. But I guess that's why Gary and them say they get 250,000 applications. If you leave these little things, people gonna find reason why they should and need to be on the road and them types of things. So that's where we are. Sad to say, this is a state of emergency episode because the appeal again is for everybody to stay home. Do the right thing. Don't try to find little loopholes as to why we need to be here, there, or the other places. Like, go out for what? It had nothing to do. Nowhere not open. It had to be. So if again you're going to and there's one that always tricky. Because last year when they did it, people could have still like leave home and say we go into the grocery or we go into the pharmacy. If you say you're going to the grocery, what a policeman go tell you? So if you're on the road and you get stopped, you're working or whatsoever you're doing on the road, you just say, listen, right by Massey there, go in and come back, and that is it. But what I saw that the police did real good last year, and it restrict movements a lot, was they had plenty roadblocks. I remember the last time they had the most stringent lockdown they had. I was heading to South by the office and stop by police by the roundabout by the fire station there. And when they stopped me, they basically asking you, well, what going on? Where you heading? I had my letter and everything saying why I was on the road. But when they see where my license thing is, they're looking at your address. So if you want to say you're going by the grocery And you born and grow in a Rima, but you go in a grocery quite Kunupi aside. Them sending you back home is like, nah, head that grocery in Kunupi. Oh, head a Rima grocery, food basket. Head up that side. And I mean, even as I saying that, a policeman talking about somebody who he intercepted last night, night one of the SOE, night one of curfew, and bounce up the man in Kunupia. But the man say he headed on the port to point 14. So he say he come down the highway and he swing in Kunupia, he headed down point 14 side. So he had to send them back home. And it make him ask questions too about the kind of organizations that still open, because we understand the grocery and the pharmacy, and we understand the need for a complete lockdown because we're not doing it ourselves, we're not doing a good job of it. But the banks who open and have people lining up outside the banks still to go in and do transactions that could be online. I say salute to First Citizens. If I remember right, First Citizens put out a thing saying the transactions that they're doing in person and what they're not doing. Don't come to withdraw no money, do that in the ATM. Don't come to deposit no check, do that in the ATM. So I'm glad that the bank, I hope the whole Bankers Association would follow that move and all the banks do that, because it really has no reason to be lining up in the bank. It's a 2 or 3 week period. Like I was saying, the 23rd of May, we the end of this week, some of going to be listening to this and we're on the 23rd of May already. So clearly we ain't making that deadline, right? In terms of easing of restrictions. I was foolishly hoping that restaurants and things will be able to operate again come 23rd of May, but that clearly not happening. But I see a line up around businesses like Flow. People lining to go in Flow. What they could possibly be wanting to do? Everything. Flow is one of the better companies where you could do everything over the phone. You could call them and get things started. You could query whatever on your bill and these things. So who is these people who are going to Flow on a day like this, day one of our SOE? And then on top of that, I'm looking at a release. Boy, I want to find the actual release, because it's one of the stranger things I see on Twitter this weekend here, or since they announced this state of emergency. I want to find the actual tweet for you because it is unbelievable. And I done vex already where you see me here. I can't get nothing done. My carnival cancel. It's looking like it's going to be 2 years straight. We had nothing going on. And a release will come out yesterday from the NCC. The National Carnival Commission. I can't find the tweet now. But the NCC, that is the National Carnival Commission, put out something saying they're announcing that unfortunately one of their like a staff member, contracted COVID. I wish them a speedy recovery. And they're now closing their offices. So I find it here. National Carnival Commissioner Trinidad and Tobago wishes to advise all stakeholders that one of its employees has tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. As a result, all NCC offices will be closed on Monday, May 17th, with regular hours resuming on Tuesday, May 18th. I don't know if the person didn't find out it was a SOE and it's only essential services. And I want to know what's essential about NCC number one, that them had to be open. What am opening back on a Tuesday for? To do what? What are they planning? Carnival 2030? And I also want to know that even if we have no SOE and no curfew, like we say everything free, what are they open for? What are they can do from home? Or this virtual carnival, or they plan, whatever they do last year or earlier this year. Everybody needs to be in the office every day for this to happen. I need to understand. Hey, NCC, all stay home now. Stay home, all you. I don't know what all they going in there to do. I don't know what all they do on a normal day. Like, I'm not sure outside of a pandemic what all they do. But if we in the midst of the thing, what all they asking? Who is in charge of this? I forget. Sorry, I shouldn't ask that question. I would like to apologize for asking that question in the first place. And talking more in charge too. Think about this for a second, right? We in a state of emergency where the Minister of National Security is Kejan Haynes. The police commissioner is Gary Griffith, and the head of SWOT is Alexander. So if you didn't have no reason to stay home before, stay home because of the holy trinity of national security in this country. It could be dangerous in these streets. But like the NCC, it always have people who feel like what they're doing is important. And like I say, 250,000 applications. And I'm trying to figure out what NCC really working on, but they have a next group of people who saying that they should be able to meet too. Hear this, right?
That's a serious part of the democracy, but the regulations at the moment do not allow for the services and the work of political parties. I am not asking you to say we can have mass meetings in the public square.
Right.
In Woodford Square or wherever it may be.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, in the same way you've allowed for the trade unions
Right.
to have the limited gatherings and to carry out their workplaces or to carry out their services at their workplaces,
Right.
in the same way, that should also be afforded to political parties.
You ever hear about Zoom?
Join political parties is
You ever hear about Zoom? Or they have a Zoom? I am willing to give the leader of the opposition, Ms. Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, I will give you my login for my Zoom account so that you all could come together to talk to one another. You know what I mean? Unlimited. No 40 minutes business. No 40 minutes in these streets. Unlimited. The real McCoy. I had the plug. If you only need to meet as a political party now and you have a Zoom account, you just check me now. Because this is the exact problem is being everybody have a reason why they could be exempt. This woman is basically saying that you're suspending the right to have such an important group as a political party, and you could meet. You have to look at like Google Teams. What is called? It's in Google. What's the thing name? Will you help me? Because I can't believe that somebody really calling for political parties to be able to meet at this time. But anyway, I mean, the thing is, they have a meeting it look like every night they have tongue meeting. Like I keep saying, the government coming on the TV every single day with Minister of Health, Minister of National Security, Prime Minister, and so on, outside of the healthcare. That is a political campaign that ongoing. They can't pay for press like that. That is a taxpayer-driven, a taxpayer-financed political campaign, because everything they say on the press conference there could be said in a tweet, in a press release, in the same Ministry of Health document, as an alert to your phone, as I pointed out with Alberta the other day. All these things could be communicated to us in several different ways rather than showing up there every day to say the same things and have media people struggling to find more questions to ask in any way. All those questions could be asked via WhatsApp and answered via WhatsApp. So all you can limit all the movement one time too. The first set of movement should limit is that press conference every day. Give the media people at ease. I ain't seen no figures for how much media people like what they had with police who would have been quarantined or tested positive for COVID. But I'm sure they had risk and they don't want to be there. To have a virtual thing, nobody don't want to come. Just send it out. Text me. Let me know what I could do and what I can't go and all these nice things. That will give you more time to send out the public health regulations on time. And you know the thing about it, I have some music to play in this episode of because see a song going out making its wrongs with Kitchener. A song called Curfew. And I'm going to definitely play that song. I'm glad that so many people know this song. It's a great song. But what people mightn't remember is that album was released, that was 1970 with the Black Power. So the curfew you're talking about then is the curfew from the Black Power movement. But they have another song I want to play too, about Any Damn Time is Trinidad Time. Another song off of that same album. and for the life for me, Kitchener do a good job saying exactly what it is because it's as real as it could get. But I can't understand why the press conference could never start on time. It at no point ever. Especially when the Prime Minister come in to address us. Every time it's 2 o'clock, we have to sit down there and wait and think and let it live. He come like, what's I think in Matara French, but what was the next one named boy? I know I was studying Saucy Pow. I can't remember the name of the boy. But he used to work on Iowa radio station at that time too. And they used to come on live on Instagram live and they say, let the live bill up, or let's share the live, let the live bill up. I don't know if that's what the Prime Minister is be doing when he coming on to address people, if he just letting the live bill up. But listen, use the head of the country. Why when you say 2 o'clock, you can start at 2? That's real. I mean, that real is a real reflection of our culture in a way. It's real out of time and disrespectful. So you have us here. We just had to wait. Whenever you come, Hefe, you come to talk, so we had to sit down and wait and talk among all yourselves. Remember when teachers used to say that a long time when they reach in school, when they reaching late for school, they used to send a message ahead of time and say, only read aloud, read from chapter 1. You know what I mean? Real primary school days. And this man is just consistently come on 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. Saturday gone was a half hour uncounted late. So one way to save time is don't show up there at all. I could give all of my Zoom account too, and I recorded everything. So anything Kamla and them say on my account, I will send you, and anything Rollers and them say on my same account, I will send back to Kamla, and everybody square. Perfect information. Nobody not to worry about nothing. Because we can't be talking about limiting movement and things. And then this again, the time thing is part of our culture too, but our culture is also somebody else doing the wrong thing. So the SOE is not for me, the SOE is for everybody else. So I behave and I doing all the right things. And what they need to do is like when neighbors I was talking about stand up talking. They need to call a state of emergency for everybody else who don't know how to behave. But anyway, it's happening to talk about in this episode. I can't go on so long as all we talk about is our next COVID episode. It's 40 minutes strong of COVID. But I want to play this Kitchener song for you because it's a great song. So I will play the curfew and taking that if you're in here. Salute to everybody like my guy Kev. I saw not Kivo. Was he? I could never remember nobody's name. What was my guy name? But NCW for playing that song and so many other people who are sharing it too. So this is Kitchener from the year 1970. It's about the Black Power Revolution. As I said, the name of the album is Curfew Time. Name of the song is also Curfew Time. Take it in.
I didn't want to do nothing, I was only just passing when Miss Marilyn tell me come inside. I was influenced by she, so we start to make merry when she suddenly told me, oh Kitchi, please hurry.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew. I should have the cause to remind you.
9 o'clock is the time that they give you. Kitchener review should continue.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew.
I say, girl, you pretending, or maybe you just joking to suggest that I am breaking the laws. When you call me in doo-doo, you never mention curfew. So let me tell you, honey, don't give me this story.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew. I should not be cause to remind you.
9 o'clock is the time that they give you. Kitchener review should continue.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew.
I look at the time creeping, I see it's like 9 coming. I say to myself, let me play me mask. I was truly now feeling life is really worth living when she start to interrupt. Kids, get up, time to stop.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew. I should not be cause to remind you.
9 o'clock is the time that they give you. Kitchener review should continue.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew.
I decide to stop briefly. The woman just grab hold me and she tell me, oh, don't stop at all. Kitchener, you sweet bugger, you could go on forever. Forget this curfew limit, don't stop it, let's break it.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew. I should have the cause to remind you.
9 o'clock is the time that they give you. Kitchener review should continue.
You're breaking the laws of the curfew.
By Calypso's or stories are told. Great one, Kitchener. Hey. Everybody rushing going on today. So yeah, I here for entertainment, right? Beside all that, I mean, when it's time to get serious, we're gonna get serious. But I really here for the entertainment, and I really thought that we was gonna get some entertainment in these times where we starved. Netflix ain't showing nothing. Apparently, nobody can produce nothing. Thank God, the rest of the country's opening back up so they could start back with billions on these things. But for now, I'm stuck on Instagram Live. All my favorite things done. Yellow Cow TV is over. I like to still taking my randomish podcast. Them fellas interviewed Narayan and was it puppet's name Santana and Narayan the other day. It was good, but that's what I'm looking for entertainment. But in the midst of waiting for this new announcement and all that, I see we're going to get some local entertainment because Kejan Haynes, who is media journalist, right, was what he say, but I think it's media personality. We have a fine line in this country between journalists and personalities. Because he has been, I know he did TV shows before. I'm not talking news or reporting type shows. I'm talking about like similar to what I do now, like a whole breakdown of stories in the current time and all. I can't remember the name of the show. I don't know this name at all. Because it was pretty good in the way he approached it and that kind of thing. But it's like personalities, and he find his own way as a Twitter personality. He's one of the best Twitter accounts to follow. Number one, because he's keeping you well informed with little bite-sized information, so you don't have to follow every single thing that happens. Once you follow him, you'll be pretty up to date, and he's keep us up with that all the time. And last week, a bunch of things was happening around the social space where COVID was concerned and complaints about lockdowns and things, mainly from business people, right? Like I was in the same boat to an extent. But one of those business people / personalities was Sarah Jane Waddell, SJW, as she's known in these Instagram streets, really complaining about the types of vaccines that we get in. It's just information on vaccination and things, which I mean, it's not if you're taking your Instagram, if you're taking your vaccine info from Instagram models / personalities and so on, I ain't so sure if you should get a vaccine or so. But that was going on and on and on, and they had some little Twitter battles going on where that is concerned. And in the midst of that, all of a sudden I see Kejan Haynes is telling Peter George, who is the founder Trent Restaurants Limited. And if you don't know, you probably eat by Trent Restaurants already, because Trent Restaurants, make sure I'm giving people the right information. They own Buzo, Trotters, Amara, Blue Star Diner, and Tommy's Brewery. So, of course, he greatly affected by the closure of restaurants that would have happened early last week. I feel like I'm not sure what was said when, because so much different restrictions changed between the last episode and today. But when the restaurants were closed fully, he had a lot to say about it, of course, because the man greatly affected by this. And I want people to appreciate too from a business person standpoint. Some people run some big business, because he had to be the biggest restaurateur in the country outside of the franchise guys like Prestige Holdings, right? He had to be the top guy in terms of footprint and everything. And this means he hires a lot of people. And based on how well they have done over the years, those restaurants, I would think that if he don't have a restaurant tomorrow, he could be probably all right. So a lot of what he's saying and a lot of where he's coming from will have to do with the amount of people who he employ, which is going to be a high number. And they have he's been able to get a high level of what is called employee loyalty. Because, all right, if you're lying by Trotters or any one of them places, Trotters is the one I could talk about the most. They have some people who work in Trotters there for years, for a long, long time. And I find personally that when you see people who doing jobs in service in Trinidad, you don't see the same faces when you go to companies. So it says that to me, what happened in Trotters is that they're treating people well, and they have a nice environment for people to come to work there. Their turnover is high. Some of the same faces you see in Trotters all the time. I said the same thing about Adams too. I don't know how they managed to attract and keep people for so long. But a lot of his appeals will be coming from that standpoint. But boy, listen, he was going off on Twitter for a while, right? He has been making statements and things about the government and the way they're managing this and thing. And I don't know, Kejan Haynes, it went into Defender of the Earth mode, or at least Defender of the Twin Island mode, and basically started back and forth with the man, basically saying, calling him out for being inconsistent, I suppose, because 1 minute you're saying we should have a SOE, next minute you're saying this, 1 minute you want lockdowns, next minute you ain't want no lockdowns. And Peter George started responding to him. So it's like, I find it sound like a nice little showdown. You know me, I like Clash, right? So I looking for a little battle. There's something to do now on a Saturday. I bored all the time there, or Friday or whenever that happen. And action start. And all of a sudden people calling people underdeveloped human. I say, but what is... And from the time I see that, I know apologies was coming. Because even though you disagree with a man or two, only going through a thing, the man ain't making no personal insult to you. I mean, he calling out your, if both of you disagreed on something, so he challenging your intelligence or to bring your facts, I should say. And it turned out to be mudslinging. And I mean, I hear the man say, anytime you're ready, we could debate on this. I say, well, his actions. I put it in my phone one time now. I see Kejan Haynes tweet back, 3 o'clock, Gattaca Street, WESN, let's roll. I say, well, all right, this is what we're looking for. We have to keep asking. How we getting a local versus? Who knew that the first local versus would be Kejan Haynes versus Peter George? That's action time. I say, well, all right. Kejan Haynes like it to talk. He like himself. He like to, you know what I mean? Them fellas know a lot. So they come in to say a lot. And Peter George, he is a fellow experience, know a lot too. So he come in to say a lot. So I say, well, all right. Let me see if you call him and develop human to his face. Not happening. I could bet my life. It didn't happen. And let me see how Peter George will handle this, because it is not normal in our country to hear the people who we like to call the 1%, the biggest business owners in this country. They don't come out and talk very often. They might turn on Twitter and they might have a little Facebook thing, but they are not. You think about it. Which owner of the biggest businesses we have in this country you go and catch on TV debating somebody like a journalist on as current affairs as COVID and the management of COVID coming? I say it's action time, but boy, Kejan Haynes hits we a Keisha Cole in the versus, boy, and show up and he this and that, and he ain't like how they use the picture and all. The people from WSN must promote. I don't know what he thinking. He agreed to do the thing. The people from WSN must promote it. This is going to be that would be the highest watch thing for the week on local TV. Probably the biggest audience WESN ever had. And I don't know why Kejan Haynes is busting shots like WSN doing their business like normal. I understand Louis Lissing running that. Them just keep catching strays because he's like, well, nobody don't watch that channel anyways. Like, dude, you now apologize for calling people underdeveloped human. Why you shooting at people? What's going on with the little fellas? But again, little egos and thing in play. But I like a little ego battle myself. Yes, I would have liked to see them go and debate. I wonder who people had their money on. If they had their money on Kejan as a man who on top of the information on the news, or Peter George, who running a big business, a huge company that affected by all this, have so many people who would be furloughed or laid off. We don't know. But it's a possibility. The longer this lockdown goes on, is it more likely you have people who will be facing the breadline because of it. So he must be passionate about it. So I would like to see the little debate. I hope they could do it. So, Kejan had suggested Twitter Spaces, but if you don't know, Twitter Spaces is like Clubhouse. Twitter could bring out their own version of Clubhouse so people could come on and talk. And to be honest, I don't find it was a bad suggestion, but I don't feel Peter George knows Spaces. This might be just old ageism. I'm being very biased here, but when he said that, I think Peter George responded and said, Twitter, come on, you call out the place as on WSN and we could do this on media. But I don't know if Peter George would know the power of a forum like Spaces at this point. And I mean, Spaces are all kind of picking up. Like, you've seen a lot of Trinidad and local talk happening on Spaces like what we were seeing on Clubhouse. I haven't been on Clubhouse in a while, but you're seeing a lot more of that now on Spaces. And it would be nice to see the little debates, is the whole point they're trying to make. And I hope they could get back on it. Because especially where egos start to get high, I don't think the best thing to do is to insult a man like that on Twitter. And then you get gun shy when it comes to a showdown and a face-to-face because they use the image and you talk to them and you know the image out there and you ain't like how they promote it and thing. I find you come across a little cowardly, the Kejan Haynes. But let me see how it go. Hopefully the debate's still on the table because we need things to do over the next few weeks. And you know, I watched the document for the SOE. The document for the SOE saying the 4th of July. So people who wasn't sure until talking about the 23rd of May, it looking like June and things still is a whole full lockdown. I know what go up. I guess with the SOE, that is the date they have, but it could change and restrictions could change and so on. I find passing strange too that the 4th of July is also the date that America is saying that they want to be fully open by, but let's see. Vaccines. It's not a COVID podcast, right? But we getting vaccines from China with Sinopharm. See, even on Twitter again, the ambassador, the Chinese ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. I never know how to say that right? But they're a person who here show some things on Twitter too about vaccine getting packed, man. Thing is on the way, 100,000 doses. Benefits of it from what Dr. Parasram saying, you're getting the 2 shots in a shorter space of time. So whereas with AstraZeneca, there was a long, I think it was 30-something days, was it? They had to wait to get the second shot. This one is much shorter, so they have some pluses. So again, I hear encouraging everybody to take the vaccine. As they call my name, I go and get vaccinated. I ain't playing that, especially where the WHO and CDC and them put out a thing saying no more mask and you could wear a mask, and they say a little bit of a confusing thing, but whatever you do once you vaccinated, you don't want for no mask, and people who vaccinated still need masks. So the CDC put out some like encouraging people not to wear masks. It looked like after they're vaccinated, like if they needed any encouragement in the States in particular. But hopefully with 100,000, I also don't know what that means. Remember last time we were trying to figure that out with the AstraZeneca, if it's a first dose and a second dose. So everybody here only get the first dose of AstraZeneca. And now, I don't know if 100,000 means 50,000 people getting 2 doses or 100,000 people getting a first dose and I hope for the best for the second. I also read somewhere that AstraZeneca we supposed to be getting, but that one real unclear as to when we will be getting when we getting it and where we getting it from. For people who have a first dose now to go ahead and get a second dose. But, I mean, whenever the thing land, let me go ahead. Any amount of protection better than what it is we're going through now. And I'm not talking about what we're going through now in terms of the restrictions. I'm talking about what we're going through now in terms of a daily phone call and a daily Facebook post with somebody who you know, somebody who's your family member, somebody who look familiar, somebody from your community, and who from around who you're hearing passing from this dreadful virus. So let me vaccine up. Is really we only hope we're going through this, but as soon as the vaccine lands, I'm hoping we don't have a situation like we had last time where people waiting to vaccinate people and people ain't showing up. All right, in some other news, I saw an interesting article that I wanted to talk about from the Newsday. It is written by Corey Connolly, right? And it's back about the children. So he's saying, economist by the name of Anselm Richards has expressed serious concerns about the long-term impact of virtual learning on the social development of young people, especially in primary school. He fears a large number of students may not develop any social skills owing to the absence of face-to-face learning in schools. In an interview, Richards said his 9-year-old son has been one of the lucky ones. He said his son, who has been learning through online curriculum for more than a year, has been involved in some outdoor activities. Before the latest COVID-19 restrictions were announced on May 6, Richards said that his son was part of an informal basketball camp led by a professional player. He said the activity allowed his son to interact with his peers fairly regularly. So, it's a long article, right? Check it out. It's in the Newsdays. It's pretty good. But he's basically talking about what a lot of people have this on their mind and have been talking about this. Like, what happens to children now that they have already done a solid year of being home. And now with these new restrictions, it looks like they will be home for even longer time. Where talk was starting about going back out to school in September. And if you remember, some children are out to be able to do their labs and exam children were out in schools just before this new wave of lockdowns. And they back home too. So with options to be able to defer exams and things, and that's such a stressful time. So my thoughts always at everybody who is doing CXC. Not CXC. What the next one name now? Common Entrance? What's the new version of Common Entrance? SCA. Those children, that's a rough time and very, very stressful to stay in exam prep mode for so long and then have to face delays and things. So my thoughts are always with them. But on this issue raised by Dr. Richards about socializing with the children, it's on all our minds. Like, if you have a year or two home, especially younger primary school children who, think of it this way, right? It means that children who have entered the school system in primary school in September, so you move from preschool to primary school, it means they never went to school. They never get to go big school then, you know what I mean? You remember how we used to look forward to that back in the day? I remember going kindergarten in a place named Kimps. I wonder if anybody ever heard Kimps, boy. Kimps preschool or prep school or whatever you used to call it, kindergarten, was in Newtown. I think it's on the street with the embassy, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I was small. And I remember going there with some teachers. They had some teachers there named Miss Douglas, Miss, oh God, they will kill me for forgetting names. Miss Johnson. I can't remember all the names, you know. Sad. But that was my place. And growing up, that little formative years of your life in Kim's and meeting children for the first time, a shy little frightened fella like me had to go, you know, they just leaving me and I had to go there every day. That was scary. And I remember going into Newtown Boys for the first time, you know, and crying. I don't want to stay. I can't believe it. It looked like a real boy. It looked like, if you ever watched Shawshank Redemption, Newtown Boys' old building used to just look just like Shawshank Redemption building. And it's tears. I remember Sheila and Barbara, the two cleaners, had to carry me in physically because in tears them time. Study that they have a group of children who in primary school who never see the school at all. You thought of that? Or they have a bunch of children now who passed the essay and went secondary school and them never see the school building. They're just doing everything from home. So part of it is the socialization. And you wonder now, children, especially as Mr. Richard saying, in your formative years here, where you're now learning how to socialize, how to be around people. I remember I was so nervous. That whole idea, the only child thing, you know, when I grew up with my mother and them alone, you're worried about being around people so much. I used to bite my lip. Like the inside, I guess, nervous reaction, and my lip, the inside of my lip used to bleed every single day. I remember them carrying me by a sink to wash out my mouth every day because I was so frightened and nervous, and I had all the interaction you could have possibly have. So what would be the state of these children now when they, imagine the first time you go to primary school, you're done 7, 8 years old, and you're now rolling in for the first time and meeting people face to face and them thing. My son had a few years in school and then he home. So the children he interacting with in class, he's met physically before and play with them and fight with them and talk to them. And, you know, it's a big difference to me than people who would have never seen their schoolmate in person. Real stranger, boy. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on the interaction and the social part of it. The thing I will say is that I always used to think of these youths who home all the time and wonder how different, you know, or look at how different they're growing up to us then. When I grew up as a little fella in St. James, sports was seasonal. So when NBA on TV, everybody playing basketball, and that football and World Cup and thing, when that game done, we gonna play football. It used to go in a cycle. So one day we playing football every day, next time it's cricket every day, and so it used to go. And once a ball bounce, you had to come out to your house. It was still a time where a man used to come outside by you. Well, Anderson Street, St. James back in the day. A man used to stand up in front of you. I was like, Corey. Miss Linda, Corey home. If he could come out and play. You remember them times? you used to have to go and check him. And then the crowd building up now, because by the time it's at 5 men, you're looking so far about a 4 side. Eh? But now we had to walk down now and check a man like Javette. We had to go by here and they're like, Javette. And Javette and the brother come out. It's just a different time, boy. So how we used to get together and play. And it was very, very social because we know everybody in our community. And you know them by name, and I know who mother and who grew up with who's who cousin. And when a stranger come in the area, you know who is he. It's just a different time in terms of community. So I always used to wonder, like, how youths growing up now. I used to watch my little brother. Every minute of the day, he on a computer. You know, they and I talking about, what year I talking about? The man is 20 years old and thing now, 21, 22. So I talking about when they were my son age, all 8, 9 and thing. So calculate that for yourself, right? However long ago that was. And I remember telling him, I was like, Jonathan, listen, you're on this computer whole day. People, you don't go out and play. You don't even know your neighbors. And I was trying to tell him, socializing is such an important thing. It's like you're antisocial, you're inside right through, you don't know nobody, this, that. And this man is the best person I know at ignoring people in life. Up to today, nobody has ignored people like Jonathan Kobe. He's not easily influenced. He didn't need to study at all. But when I went on and on and on, and he must be fed up ignoring me, he say, Corey, you talking about us not being social and you knowing everybody in your neighborhood, right? He say, you know any Mexicans? No, I want to lie and I want to front it. But I started to search my mind real hard. And listen, it must you have hundreds of millions of Mexicans. I don't know a single Mexican. I don't know a Mexican. I never meet a Mexican. And I understood his point because he was trying to say that, listen, I know everybody in my community. I know everybody in my school. And I know people all over the world from several different cultures and several different walks of life and things. So what he was trying to tell me is, we were the ones who wasn't well socialized. That they much more social beings than we are. What do you think about that? Because I had to agree with the man. At that point in time, I was like, but wait. The man have a good point because we grew up. Yes, I knew everybody in my community and I could have go door to door and we used to play by one another house and all them things. And that is valuable. But it's also valuable for these youths to know people from so much different walks of life and so many different backgrounds all over the world. And their perspective and the broadness of their mind and everything, it shows. And it makes you wonder now, like, who is really the social being? So I understand what Mr. Richard's saying as an economist and the socializing of children and things, but I couldn't help but think back to that experience with me and my little brother back in them times. Because we live in an era now where these youths, even more than Jonathan and them, who would have been children in the early 2000s, them men born in Y2K and things. These children have a lot of perspective, a lot of friends from all over the place, and they in the way they play games. Remember when you used to have a Nintendo back in the day, or if you have a Atari, and there's only old people I'm talking to, so all you know is Atari and Nintendo and these things. Back in the day. When you had them things, you remember when you used to wait for a man to come by you to play a game? Like we used to walk, them days there no car and thing, you ain't taking no taxi. You used to walk down to by the stadium by a man named Adrian Gittins. A whole New Tongue man and a whole Fatima man. We used to walk down there to go and play game by him, a man named Mungru. You go in my Mungru and play game. Or Stefan Nawala walking from, I live in St. James and walking quite up Cipriani Boulevard to go and play video games by them men. Now these youths don't need that. Them go and play video games with people all over the world, and it's just a different perspective that they have. So while they might not done a whole lot of face-to-face interaction, who is to say that they're not much more social than we are? And who's to say that they were not the best generation of youths who were prepped and ready to go into a system where learning offline is much more comfortable for them than we would have been in? You can imagine us being as social as we were. Physically social then, let me put it that way. You can imagine our era. And when I say our, I mean old people like ourselves, right? You can imagine when we were in school having to go to fully online school, if that was a thing, where you're home and we would have probably been going berserk. So, I mean, salute to these kids now. They're dealing with what looks from our viewpoint to be an enormously difficult situation and trying situation, when it might well be these is the best youths prepared to do this thing. Of course, you have some households that we still have to consider that are not the best learning environments, and people sharing devices and internet is not that great. We have to keep people in mind where those things are concerned. And as the doc said the other day, we had to do the half a banana thing, right? Don't eat 2 bananas. Save one for somebody. So devices and things, some of us have devices home that we don't use no more. They're slow. We never get rid of them. Now is a good time to clean up that, delete everything you have, donate it to somebody and give them the help, because these children going to be home for a while. I'm not seeing school opening back this year at all. Not in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, as I mentioned, Tobago, salute to Tobago too, because Tobago ain't having some of the issues we having, and Right now, they must want to close their borders. I wonder if anybody in Tobago calling for borders to close. Like, just don't let no Trinis come back over there. Because they're not having the same kind of skyrocketing numbers and definitely not overwhelmed healthcare system. Because when they were talking about our system being overwhelmed as a country as a whole, when they split it into Trinidad and Tobago, I think occupancy was somewhere 70-something% in Trinidad and 25% in Tobago. So keep flying the flag Tobago and stay safe over there. And everybody stay safe overall. And let each Trinidad mind stay safe while they're home too. Now, as we're on the topic of helping people, and there's an article I found real interesting this week, and I want to salute to Paige Gillette. Article from the Newsday by Melissa Doughty. Paige Gillette has made the dreams of many come true by helping them achieve significant amounts of aid for US-based colleges. Gillette is the founder of Ivy Edge Global, which is a SAT and college prep company in Trinidad and Tobago. A January article on InsideHire.com says the common application, the most widely used college application out there, showed that larger and more competitive colleges and universities were getting lots of applications. However, acceptance rates were at all-time lows, a media company said. Gillette's Ivy Edge Global students were able to secure over $12 million in scholarships and grants from Ivy League and other prestigious universities. Moving forward in the article, they really said it's heartwarming to see so much talent and determination coming out of Trinidad and Tobago in such an uncertain year. Congratulations to all students receiving college acceptances this year. Cameron and Naparima College students accepted to Harvard University. Catherine at St. Joseph College, St. Joseph, you know who wasn't getting no scholarship is me. Because if they had given me the thing to read, just to get a scholarship, I wasn't getting. Catherine, a St. Joseph Convent San Fernando student, accepted to Columbia University among those receiving scholarships. Both students received full scholarships for over $85,000 US. That's $2 million a year each for the next 4 years. Wait, now this is expensive. So expensive it is to go to school. $2 million a year. $85,000 US is 2 million TT. We need to do some about the exchange rates. Let me check this because this ain't something right. 85,000 by 7. Nah, man, only mama guy in my man. I don't know why they put 85,000 US and 2 million TT each year, but all right, that's what they get. I ain't sure that math's working out too right. But again, congratulations and salute to them and salute to her and her company, Ivy Edge. They call a lot of names of some of these students. Brian, Jangi Singh, going grants to attend Harvard University, Princeton or MIT. That's pretty impressive. This is Jangi Singh concerns. Jangi Singh, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, described his college application process as a breeze where his questions or concerns were always short-lived because of Gillette's WhatsApp replies at any hour, literally. Jangi Singh also is waitlisted with Dartmouth and Stanford. And the first learned about the Ivy Edge School through a webinar discussing the 75% reduction in national scholarships. I mean, that's real good work. I don't know, you're talking about an elite group of students when you're talking about the schools that are getting accepted to, but it's real good to see people make their life work and dedicate their life work to making other people's dreams come true, because a lot of times if you look into the background and the family life and everything of some of these students, without scholarship like these, you might be able to go to school or go to a great school that you will really challenge yourself and find yourself with like-minded people who could push you and so on. And look at what we're talking about. This guy getting accepted in Princeton, Harvard, MIT. That's places real hard to get into. So it goes to the point I was making before about this environment that we're talking about for the children now. Yes, it will be stressful, and yes, it's different, but this group of youths now is an impressive group of youths. Where anywhere from primary school all the way up to secondary school, there's an impressive group of young people. And these youths here could overcome any challenge you put before them. And once we all roll now as the old people, it's really to support them and give them as much, our mentorship. I like talking about my experiences, as you probably realize by now. But when I talk to these youths, I always try and tell them something encouraging, let them know they could do it, and just talk about my experience. It's so hard to teach them anything, if you understand what I mean. It's so hard to tell them this is what they should do. I don't know what these youths should do, but because them have life figured out much better than I had at that age, and probably that I have figured out now. So the most we could do as people who would have passed through some of these things already is help to provide platforms to create opportunities for them, to tell them about our own experiences and give that kind of guidance and mentorship. So I want to highlight that. Salute to Paige Gillett. I find it's a real good thing. Ivy Edge Global. I should probably apply and see if I could ups my little, you know what I mean? If I could get my education looking a little better than where it is through Ivy Edge, I might just well do that. Who knows? Long time I ain't studying nothing. In these hard times, maybe it's time to go back to school. What else we have on this list? Oh God, time passing. This is I tell you, plenty of things happened over the last week, you know. Because we talked so much about SOE, we didn't even talk about the fact that we have some temporary facilities given to us by the US in terms of tent systems. I don't know what to call it. Temporary facilities, additions to the parallel healthcare system. So salute to whoever make that arrangement, or whether it was Kamala or Rowley. We're glad to get it. Whoever called, who taking the credit for it. We appreciate that all they want to take the credit for it and things. So noble and humble of both of y'all to want to take so much credit for these things. But we appreciate it either way, and we hoping that we get more. And you know what? It made me start to think that whether they want to call it good management, good governance, or outright luck, we lucky to be going through the highest surge that we've ever gone through after some of these countries, first world countries, quote unquote, done past the worst on their side and well vaccinated already. Yeah? I want us to count our blessings where they're concerned, because can you imagine having numbers like these and cases like these when we were in last year March, when New York was going through things like this and Italy, and the numbers was high in Canada? You could imagine going through anything like this then? We would now no help to get from nobody in terms of, you remember there was a time when the PPE was short and we were struggling, just like how we're struggling to get vaccines now. We are struggling to get PPE and ventilators and all those things. I remember specifically Trump sending some just like what happened with the vaccines. I believe Trump had sent some ventilators, I think it was at the time, through Barbados, and we ended up getting a few. And you know, it was a struggle at the time, and we was holding the government to the fire, saying that they're unprepared and this and that, and they were coming and say, well, we ordered this amount and it's hard to get, and PPE is sold out all over the world, but we have enough here. You remember that? That like, thinking about that gives me a lot of encouragement, even though this is a rough little patch here we're going through as a country. Thinking about that gives me a lot of hope and encouragement, because if we had been seeing high numbers in them times when them other big countries was going through the worst of their thing, we would have no tents to get and no ventilator for nobody to take no credit for and fight over who bring it and who call who first and who asks who for what. It would have had none of it. So we're so lucky to be dealing with this now and not back then. And the reason it given me encouragement and hope is not just that I know that we have more global support than we would have had if we were at this point last year, but it's encouraging when I think back over the whole year. Boy, listen, if we could have make it through last year, we could make it through anything, you know. If we make it through last year, boy, we could deal with anything. It's nothing could stop us in terms of, and we make it there now. We make it limping. We make it, and we lost some soldiers along the way, but hey, we make it. This is May 2021. Let me not forget that. While all the doom and gloom going around, they had a time where it had no gloves. You couldn't buy a mask. You couldn't buy hand sanitizer. Just because of who we are in the world and the hoarding that going on with everything everywhere in the world, we in this position. And it's where we are, is the reality we had to face and the reality we had to deal with. But listen, we good. We good. It's sad. We limping through it. We ain't perfecting our way through. We limping through it. We losing soldiers with depression. We wait through it because we depressed sometimes. I ain't the same depression both. Sometimes it's hard to get up and do what we have to do. But if we could get through this whole thing where we had no ventilator, we had no PPE, now we had no vaccines, we had little idea where they're coming from, and say, listen, the vaccine and them going to come. And everybody going to get vaccinated. And one day we're going to be looking back at this and we're going to be breezing. We're going to be talking about it. And we will always pour one for the fallen people, but we will live on and we will do fine. I think it's just for us to continue doing the right thing here. Make sure that we stop the pettiness and trying to see, okay, well, what the SOE mean? I mean, I could be out later. I mean, we had to at some point get past that and realize that what we're doing is really safeguarding ourselves and our family, and especially the elderly in the society. And we fast at the point where everybody knows somebody who affected by this, or a family who affected by this. But thank God we have the support, and as with everything else, we will make it. All right, I'm going to start go through things fast now because I have a whole bunch of things to talk about. Let me just make sure here that I cover everything, because every time I finish an episode now, I remembering something I was supposed to talk about. As I'm talking about that too, let me do some cleanup, because I never get so much message. Every time I feel nobody ain't listening, I just get one to the message about what I say wrong. It's a rough life. One time people call and say, yeah, I hear you say so and so and so. That's it, right? So thanks for everybody who reached out and tell me Chelsea with a loss. Yes, we lost our Champions League final. So, man, I was back in the day. But since we started win Champions League, we never lost none. Let me put it that way. So we go in and win the next UEFA. And you see, we give Leicester a FA Cup because we have enough of that. We don't want no FA Cup. Remember back in the day when Mourinho, that same Champions League final where we lost, right? I don't know how I would have forget that, because Mourinho take the people's second place medal and pelt it in the crowd. That is what we do with FA Cup. Pelt it in the crowd, you know, FA Cup. You pronounce it fast. FA Cup. Nobody didn't care about no FA Cup. So we get less to that. Let them fellas live. But the Champions League, we are coming for that, and Chelsea I can't wait to come here and do a whole full Chelsea episode, because we're on top of things overall. As we're in sports, let me also say a salute to, what's my guy name, boy? Aaron Prince, for qualifying for the Olympics. They say after 13 years from the Express, right? From Ian Prescott. After a 13-year journey and on his fourth try, top middleweight amateur boxer Aaron Prince has finally qualified for the Olympic Games. Shogunas boxer, 35, joins a rare group, becoming just the fourth Trinidad and Tobago boxer ever to qualify for the Olympics, joining Kurt Sinnett, USA-born Carlos Suarez, and Rio 2016 qualifier Nigel Paul. So congratulations to my guy, Aaron Prince. The only thing I'm watching with you, Aaron Prince, to be honest with you, I want to level with you, right? Aaron, he's 35 years old. Aaron, they say 13 years you're trying to get into this thing. I'm very happy for you, right? I don't want you to take this no kind of way. I want to talk to everybody else called there. I'm talking to Aaron alone. Aaron, you are 35 years of age. Protect yourself when you go out there, please. Because last time a man take a sleep. You see, I don't want to call that. I really shouldn't say that, no, but a man went and take a sleep. The last international boxer I see from Trinidad, that man take a REM sleep. REM. That man went and sleep on the ground. Aaron, you're 35. Keep your guard up. Protect yourself at all times. And listen, nothing wrong with you. Don't make the Olympics already. You get through. If you had a dive, brother, you dive. Look what boxing come to. Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul and these fellas is internet sensations. Them men of them is not a real boxer. So who is you after doing all this work to be able to qualify and thing? To go Olympics and take a dive? You're 35. Don't let nobody hit you too hard. You're coming out in your red, white, and black. Represent your country. Everybody go be watching. We have nothing else to do. We clearly gonna be locked down while Tokyo going on. And we can't sleep already. So wherever avoid come on, we watching it. But protect yourself. 35 is not like 13 years ago when it started. But congrats to Aaron Prince and we're glad to have the more represented. You know, I was saying this. Suppose the man bring a goal, boy. Remember when Kejan bring the goal and nobody didn't know who was Kejan? Suppose the man bring a goal. But listen, you don't go there and you focus on no gold medal. You do enough. We're proud of you already. Don't go and make no wild swing and then... Anyway, all right. But good congrats. Let me don't say no more congrats to Aaron Prince. We could be following you. We have our support 100%. and we back in here all the way. 35. All right. We're going through these fast. The Ministry of Sports, Sports Ministry launches a training video series. I find it's a great initiative. I want to highlight it. All bear with me. Ministry of Sports and Community Development will roll out its sport training video series, which is another pillar of its Pink Rain campaign. The training video series will offer insights into the playing, managing, coaching, and administration of various sports, and comes on the backdrop of the ministry's pivot and execution of its programs virtually. I'm glad to see that. So more of it moving virtual. This is the world we're living in. No matter what happens after these times, I don't think we're going back to delete all virtual spaces and go back only to physical. So I'm glad to see this, and it ties in so much to what I was talking about with the youths, where Dr. Richards was saying, the socialization. I feel one of the bigger issues with the youths now is physical activity. So I put my son on a little schedule with an alarm clock and say, listen, every day, go on YouTube, find your half-hour video. You could do whichever workout you want, but you like YouTube, do a little half-hour. And my guy, listen, I don't know if I create a monster now, because every minute you're watching in the mirror for abs, you want to know how he's looking. Every time he finish a workout, he come in and tell me how much weight he lose, like in that said workout. But better that, because you see, the thing is, when they're in school, there's so much physical activity. They have PE and thing going on. Plus, on a lunchtime, they're running and they're playing. They need some of that. So I was glad to see that the ministry put some of this in place. And I hope that it extends to the point where we could even use some of these things for our local, or to administer our own PE home then. As parents who might be struggling because, a fat man like me, I go tell the man about a set of physical activities. Half the time I can't do the exercise with him. So it would be nice to have a forum that local here, that he could go on and do his exercise and those things. Or the image that they had for the article, this article was by, actually not seeing the author of the article, but it was in the Guardian, the Express, sorry. But they use a Taekwondo or Karate Association, so it's a self-defense sensei. Kelly Ricas board from the Trinidad and Tobago Karate Association leads a Shotokan karate technique demonstration as part of the training video. So more things like this, and more so than the ministries having to do everything themselves. Sometimes I find the ministry should focus more on policy and infrastructure. So if you create something like this and then invite the experts to do videos. So if you create something like this and get people like Don Jacob and them to come on and do things, or so many sporting heroes that we have. A matter of fact, you could get Prince if you make it back. When Prince come back, you could get Prince to come and do a little boxing thing, and you know what I mean. That be safer than going in the Olympics too. So more of this. That is what we need. We need these, and we need to support things like that. Well, let me see what else I have. I tried my best not to go too long over 1.5 again. They say, COVID affects sexual dysfunction. My best days behind me. Yes, I see that. For young people, our best days are behind us. COVID or no COVID, we severely affected sexually already. How good we could really do. They have a few more things that, and maybe I'll wrap up on this. The central bank making some moves to help people with loan deferral. So through the central bank, they're making it easier for the commercial banks to give deferrals and interest rate reductions and those things during these times, right? Because of course we know what is happening overall. And on a business side in general, I was interested in or intrigued by looking through the papers and seeing what kind of companies making more profits in these times. So I saw that Angostura profit jump high, Whitco was doing well, and was it Massey doing record profits? So just make what you will of that, right? Just interesting stuff, right? But that's things as a society we had to pay attention to, because there's plenty life. I say we have hope and we're gonna do fine, right? But after this, we have some cleaning up to do. We have some societal issues to deal with as a people. When Whitco, Angostura, and them up big, you know what I mean? Just keep an eye on that. But the central bank doing some work and making it simpler for us to be able to access some easing, you know what I mean? So that we not pay the bills. But just for everybody out there to beware of what you're getting into when we're doing deferrals and them kind of things, because they spoke about it. The word moratorium was floated a lot last year when the government came and said, landlords go easy and the bank go easy and them kind of things. When I see what this deferral thing is and how much interest you ended up paying, so it's one or two situations. You're still going to end up paying interest on everything that you owe them. Of course, that's the way the people make their money. So while you're not paying today, interest still accruing. And when they're done now, they call in it lengthening the period of your loan. So if you had two years again to pay off your loan, it could be 2 years and a couple months based on how much you owe on defer. So it's just something for us to pay attention to overall. I think the banks should do whatever they could do to help the situation overall. But I do find that when you look at a man like Peter George, who coincidentally, because of the business he chose to be in, nobody enforced him there, but the business he chose to be in, or Derek Chin chose to be in Movie Talk, that getting fully closed down and severely affected, they are figuring out ways to operate with zero revenue for what would be extended periods of time. And as always in our society and in many societies that capitalist like ours, the banks seem to be the ones that walk in away scot-free, because even though people at the banks every day and lining up outside the bank and that kind of thing, the banks have never been in the discussion for closing at any point in time. And they're so, when you think about it, outside of, I understand where the most elderly in the population or even people who might not be tech savvy and things might have issues between internet banking and ATM banking and so on. But we've come a long way with both of those things and are struggling to figure out, outside of some specific things to do with business, why the banks need to be open at all. Because even in the business world, for citizens again leading the way, so citizens say, hey, what, deposit your overnight bag, put it in with RB deal with RBC, they say, you can't go in and deposit a check by them, a company check. You had to go and do this overnight bag and drop off this and that. So what are the transactions that people have to do that the bank had to stay open? And how come they never come up ever in terms of limiting movement? The money is a critical service, yes, but what exactly do people need to go to the banks to do? The bank, they've never come and say, all right, take a 50% restriction, nothing. And the point I'm making is not necessarily that they should come down on the banks and force banks to close, right? The point I'm making is that the bank is one of the few businesses that continues to be able to make money in a time like this, continue the same profitability. Because I assuming that the default rate on anything people have to pay back could be increasing, right? Which affecting the bank ability to make money. But I will also assume that for the most part, even for people who will defer, people acknowledging the debt. So if I go in and I defer and I want a 3 months off of my mortgage, it's not like if I'm saying I will never pay the mortgages. I'm saying, listen, I don't have no money in this little time here and I had to pay all here, but I can't make in this 3 months. So I'll sign me up, whatever interest or they charging me and them things. If I could get to pay that, instead of finishing at 25 years, I'll finish at 25 and a half years, we will sign up and we will do it. So them men, by charging interest in the year, they could book that. The men booking the revenue. So the banks, I was looking at Angostura and Massey and Whitco, and I want to see the banks in terms of how they affected where profitability concerned. I remember Republic Bank reporting sometime last year that they were down. And when they say down, it's like, be careful this kind of language these people like to talk. Down could mean a few things. It definitely don't mean unprofitable. Down could mean lower than what I projected to make. That could mean I project to make 1.5 billion and I make 1.35. All that they will call down when they're looking at it. Down could also mean I make 2 billion in this same quarter last year, and now I only make 1.8 billion. And they say it and they put these things out with headlines and make it seem as though, things ain't going so good. We down against our projection. Yeah, we'll just watch that language and watch where it is. But I do find that if it's one sector that could do more to help, it's the banking sector. But again, plenty of people listening to the banking sector. So I don't know, they load lad default and all these things. Well, that was just that. What last thing before I go? I done tell all you I'm struggling with this lockdown time and my depression getting the better of me from time to time. And I learned something in talking to my no friend new love, my paliwal, soon to be podcast co-host, hint hint, new love. I was asking her in our last conversations, like, hey, listen, this thing I'm struggling to get things started and to do this and that and the other, and you know what I mean? Is one of them times. And I was asking her, like, what? Like, I find myself watching reruns over and over. Like, I would just put on something I watch already and just watch it. Like, I think I watched somehow, I don't know why this happened, but over the last 2 weeks, I watched a Fire Festival documentary. Every time I turn on TV, I just put on the Fire Festival. Stacey was going mad. Every time I just started and I watch the whole thing. Many, many, many times. Sometimes I just finish, I started over. I thought I was losing my mind a little bit. But she was saying that it could be therapeutic to watch reruns. And she says that's sometimes why when we going through something, we listen to the same songs over and over. You know what I mean? You're going through a breakup and you hit Mary J. Blige one time and you start listening to that. And there's she was saying that brings a certain amount of comfort because of the certainty associated with it. So when we're very, very anxious, I hope I'm quoting her right, but the more anxious we get, things like reruns or listening to this song over and over tend to be soothing because they help us manage our anxiety by knowing exactly what's coming next, and there's a comfort to that and all that, right? So, having said all that, one of my, and I talk about it here all the time, one of my, I guess, anxiety soothers has always been the Joe Budden podcast, right? Joe Budden and them, they're funny, they're edgy. Listen, it's ridiculously entertaining. But I honestly feel I had to find another one. I had to find something else to listen to. I need recommendations and podcasts or something that I could listen to that could get my mind off of some of this stuff. Because last week I was talking about them breaking up because his two co-hosts, Rory and Mal, they upset with him as a money thing. Men feel they ain't get any money they get. They're supposed to be getting and thing. And Joe Budden tell him, man, there's profit partners, right? And wherever the profit is, they split into 3 ways. But he don't want to show them how he calculated the profit. It's the greatest story ever told. He basically telling them that because they are sharing in profit, but they are not owners of the company, right? He's the sole owner of the company and the brand and everything. But he just basically tell the man, all right, well, there's the profit we make and we go bust this up. And when the man asks to see accounts, he upset and flying off the handle. And that is such a tricky thing, boy. You see, when you're signing contracts and you know where you're signing up, you have to know where you're signing up for, yes, because people like to talk about entrepreneurship and things, but you see me, it has some scenarios where if we're going into a deal, I just want to know what money I gain, I don't want to get into no ownership of what you have or no profit agreement and those things. As attractive as some of them things song, there's some deals I get into where tell me how much money you're paying me to do the thing and let me decide. Like lecturing, for instance. When I go and lecture in a school, me don't want to know how much money the man making. I want him to make money because I know if he ain't making money, he can't pay me. And that is about it for me. When we agree on what I have to do and how much hours I need to put in to get X, I go and put in my hours and my expectation is that I get an X. If you make way more money, like I went in classrooms before where I see 100 people, and sometimes the little thing in here is want to multiply 100 by the fees for the term, and when you watch how much money, but that is not my concern. The man do good work to bring plenty people in his school. Let me go and lecture the people and try my best so that they could get the best results, so that every time they were looking for a lecture, they will call me. I like them kind of deals too, Just cut me my check and I good. Let me go my way. Because when you do these profit type of deals, it could get complicated. So with them, it get complicated. And them men don't know, they're getting paid, but they don't know what the real profit is. They don't know what the revenues are. So that's a dark place. So them seem to fall out. And these men was friends at them get away and everything. So a part of them was going to do a whole breakdown on this Joe Budden podcast. And what's the difference? It's like some simple things like paying people from net profit means you have to open up all your books to them. It have no way around that. And them men have money to get if they sue Joe Budden because you can't just tell me, hey, my expenses is this. You have to break it down. You have to tell, because it's easy to put anything in an expense. I could make my net profit 0 if I want. So I would, and then we'll say, we want to tell more what is your revenues, and so how what exactly we looking at to be able to calculate the profit. Is it better just sign a salary deal, which they don't seem to want to have at all. So sometimes when you work at all them kind of deals, they mention to take money from like the top. Like say any deal we make, I want X%. It ain't gonna be a third or 20%. It could be 5, but if you get off the top line, then I'd do it against nobody expenses and all that. But anyway, them men fall out, and he have some other partners on the podcast, which decent enough. Joe Budden he entertaining on his own, so it's almost like anybody you put next to him, he could make a good show out of. But now, I just see before we start this podcast that he had another podcast under his network, and if you want that, like that's my goal too, to have a network of different people, different voices who come in and talk about different things. So hopefully you had to hear me alone rant for an hour every now and again. I want to get different creators and content providers to come on and do different types of shows on different topics and things. Salute to Birdie and Barney on the Birdie and Barney show. That's the first one that I kind of working with, and I enjoying do that role too, where it's not me talking and thing, but I involved in the process. So that's fun for me, and I hope to get more people who coming out and doing that. So Joe Budden already has that, because he have some girls who's come together and do a podcast called See the Thing Is. It's come out every Tuesday. So when I publish this and I put out this and people listening to this on a Tuesday, I listen to that. And one of the girls who was on it, a Guyanese girl too, so it become my business now. It's Caribbean culture now. She walked off the show some time ago and she say, they part ways and everything, and that's all we heard. But in the midst of this bacchanal with the podcast now, it turns out that she saying that she was in a, what you want to call it, sexually hostile environment. There's Olivia Dope is her name. A sexually hostile environment with Joe Budden making passes at her. Just look for it on YouTube. Look for Olivia Dope, and that's one of the first things will come up. So it's sad that I'm in a position now where, how it's going in the States. With them kind of allegations and those types of things, it could go bad. I'm eager to hear what he had to say about it on his podcast Wednesday. But the whole moral of the story is that I need things to listen to, because if that fall through, the cancel people going to come up and they're going to, and listen, I was on Joe Budden's side for the whole week. But now that the Guyanese girl say thing, are we the Guyanese by default on she's side? So I'm waiting to hear what's his response and what her previous podcast host, what they going to say Tuesday morning. That will be interesting to hear. But until then, I need podcasts. I need some white noise, some kind of background thing to listen to. So, and then a lot of the local content providers, it's slowing down. You know what I mean? Whereas you would get Yellow Cow TV every week, they're on a break because of this. A lot of people on breaks, a lot of people, and people can't really, coming here and finding things to talk about every week done difficult already, and everybody not in the mood to talk about stuff. And I know if everybody want to talk about 40 minutes of COVID, like me, and then be depressed for the rest of the week till I could talk to Oli again, but is a slow time for those things. But salute again to Cassia, who is back out and publishing every week, to Brian, who comes out every week as well. But we need stuff, so I am open to recommendations. What else I say wrong? There had one more thing I say wrong last week. Oh, I shout out to, I was talking about Birdie and Barney. Salute to Lasano, because apparently I said that Guyana was objecting to Trinidad, and we was running into some more World Cup qualifiers that coming up, and I say Sheldon Bateau when I should have say Buko, who's the one who they were objecting against. So that's a nice little cleanup. So anyway, before I go, I want to play this Kitchener song from the same album, from Curfew Time album from 70. Kitchener had a song, and I'm hoping that this is not the case with us. I hope we respect the times, the men saying 9 to 5, be home, be locked down, don't be coming out for any reason. People don't start to ask if your yard an offense and you're by the front of your yard. I mean, why are we looking for every technicality to fight the people? But I hope we strict about the thing and we don't show up. The press conference to announce the curfew that's supposed to start 2 o'clock starting 2:30, and the measures that we put in place taking 24 hours to be published, 24 hours plus to be published. I just hope the citizenry don't treat the curfew the same way the leaders treating their own deadlines and timelines. But that's why I want to play this song, because Kitchener had it right when he say any damn time is Trinidad time. So hopefully we do the right thing and we abide by standard time. No more Trinidad time. But this is Lord Kitchener. The name of the song is Trinidad Time.
Every Trinidadian believe in a line. From the smallest child to the adults, they have no regard for time. Don't worry to date them. You're looking for problem. When they tell you 8 at 10:30, you now start to wait. To come when they feel is a joke.
It's traditional.
They even reach late for their work.
They never punctual.
Everybody know.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Wherever you go.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
When they tell you 8.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
They come 10:30 late.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
When they out to fool you, they kneel down and swear. You don't have to worry, I tell you, 11 sharp I'll be there. For you not knowing, you sit down and waiting, but you won't see the sight. They mean 11 tomorrow night. To come when they feel is a joke.
It's traditional.
They even reach late for their work.
They never punctual.
Everybody know.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Wherever you go.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
When they tell you 10.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
They come in, but when?
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Tell me Michi at 600 up. Kiss darling, don't keep me waiting. You know I love you a lot. Not to disappoint she. I reach at 5:30. Well, I'm still waiting to get a glimpse of Miss Evelyn. To come when they feel is a joke.
It's traditional.
They even reach late for their work.
They never punctual.
Everybody know.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Wherever you go.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
I'm coming for true.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Christmas coming too.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Foreigners, they jump in the brew. I had a date with an English woman to meet me at 2:30. 4:30 she come in, like she ain't do nothing. Kids, don't look so sad. We never hurry in Trinidad. To come when the feel is a joke.
It's traditional.
They even reach late for their work.
They never punctual.
Everybody know.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Wherever you go.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
When they drink the rum.
Anytime it's Trinidad time.
Alright, so that's a great one. The Kitchener. Don't get better than that, right? I think we're done. Sorry. This is much longer. You know, my plan was to come here and do a real short episode because I'm a Corey. Nobody ain't going to work there. Nowhere to drive to listen to this. Nobody can exercise on the road, so it's not like if you could take a run and listen like you used to do so. Sorry about that. But as the song say, any damn time is Trinidad time. So thanks for putting up with me. We'll talk next week. Everybody stay safe.